Talking about best moments in careers, and with that, the forgettable moments as well. But we always start with the positive, and 44 and 24 is a good place to start when we talk about you, Chuck.
Yeah, you know, Ernie, what's interesting about that night, okay, we lose Game 6 in Seattle. So I called Frank Johnson, who's one of my good friends on the team, back to the plane, because obviously we have a lot riding. We had the best record in the NBA that year. We lose Game 6. I said, Frank, I've got to get this team pumped up. What should I do to get to, because, you know, everybody's got a lot of anxiety, got a long flight back to Phoenix. He says, don't worry about it. We're going to win Game 7. I says, how do you know that? He says, you never been to the finals. I says, no, I haven't. He says, you just got to play the best basketball game you ever played in your life. I says, really? That's a good, interesting point. And I said, okay, but I said, I got to get the rest of the team. He said, just go and just BS with them. Just make them laugh, have fun with them, but all the pressure's on your back. You know, he said, you won MVP. You never been to the finals. You got Game 7 at home. You just got to play the best basketball game you ever played.
Barkley just won't be denied. Barkley.
Backdoor on Sean Kemp. Barkley is in the 40s.
Did you feel pressured to do that? Did it feel different than any other game?
Oh, yeah. First of all, Game 7's...
Yeah, but when he tells you, look, not only do we have a Game 7, you have to have the best game of your life.
First of all, as a star, you always feel pressure, because the one thing about a star, you're going to get the blame. So you automatically feel that pressure. I mean, nobody's going to say Sid Ceballos didn't win the championship. They said Charles Barkley didn't win the championship.
Right.
So I knew that from my days in Philly. That was my first year in Phoenix. I got MVP. And so I was ready for the game, but I was trying to just get the team. I said, guys, let's go. We're good. And I didn't know I was going to get 44 and 24, excuse me. I knew I was going to play well, but I had to set the tone. I set the tone early.
Because you're coming off a 13 and 11 Game 6.
Yes. I did.
And now you've got to have the best game of your life.
Yeah, but I did not handle. I was awful against a double team in Game 6. I was impatient because I wanted to close it out. So I was like trying too hard. One thing these guys will tell you, Ernie, you can really try too hard in sports. You just make things worse. So we win Game 5, and I was like, we're going to close this thing out in Seattle. And that double team, they were coming, and Gary Payton was terrific. Nate McMillan was in there. So I just got out of sorts. I was trying too hard to close it out. So then I knew everything was on our back. But that's the best game I've ever played in my life. We never trailed. I probably pretty much the whole game. Like I say, I didn't know I had 44 and 24 to after the game. But what I said to myself was, there's only one ball out here. Dominate the ball.
44 points, 24 rebounds for Charles Barkley.
What do you get?
It's their numbers.
It's a very lukewarm reaction from Shaq.
44, 24, yeah.
But so Chuck, when you reflected on that, so you're back in the locker room after. Well, you're jumping around, number one, everybody. You're going to go to the NBA Finals. But when you reflected on what you had done, what was the sense of satisfaction you had there, of knowing what you had to do and then doing it?
Well, before the season started, I told the guys, we're going to the finals. I said, we're going to the finals. And they look at me like I'm crazy. I says, I'm the best player in this conference. We're going to play the Bulls for the championship. We're going to the finals. So my pressure had ratcheted up because when I got traded to Phoenix, I had no more, I don't have any help. I got Dan Marley, Kevin Johnson. I says, we're going to the finals. So once I got to the finals, I was like, I got Michael Jordan, mano a mano, what I wanted. I'm telling myself, well, I'm the best player. I just didn't have no damn help in Philly. I got Michael Jordan. I like my chances. And I remember something about that. We lose Game 1. Before Game 2, I'm talking to my daughter. She said, Dad, you said y'all were going to win the championship. I said, we're going to win the championship. And I get back home that night and she's crying. She says, Dad, I don't know if y'all gonna win. I said, baby, I don't know if we're gonna win either. I said, I've never lied to you, but I told you we were gonna win the championship. She says, and I played great. I think I had 42, something like that, but Michael had like 50. And I remember sitting talking to her, I says, I think this guy might be better than me. And I never said that about another basketball player in my life, ever. But I remember being so depressed that night, I said, I don't know if I can beat this guy. So that was frustrating, but that was not until the worst night of my life in Game 6. When Paxson, so we lose Game 1 and 2 at home. We win Game 3, we lose Game 4, and then we win Game 5. And I says, we're gonna win this thing. And we go back home, it's a great game. Then Paxson hits the 3.
Well, Pippen got the snap. Here's Paxson for 3. Yes! The Bulls take a 1-point lead, and Phoenix calls for time. Here's Johnson. Johnson gets, no, he could not get it off. Knocked away by Grant. It's all over.
And I was just in shock when it was over because I had to, I was frustrated because I couldn't wheel my team past Michael and the Bulls. And it, first of all, I don't think I've ever gotten over it, number one. But that was traumatic. I stayed up for like a day and a half. I just couldn't sleep. And I was so frustrated because there was like 2 plays in that game where I had the ball and Scott and Horace Grant doubled me so hard because we had to lead the whole game. And Paul Westphal called my number twice, and Horace and Scott had made me pass the ball. And I'm still mad to this day that I should have been more aggressive, but it would have been a bad basketball play. But that to me was just a traumatic, awful night in my life.
What is that locker room like, Charles, after that? Is there anger in there? Is just their frustration? Is it just head hanging? Take us, because we've seen the other side. We've seen the celebration in a locker room. Take me inside the loser's locker room when you lose it that way.
It's emotional. There's crying. It's really quiet.
Did you cry?
I did. I did, because I did. But the locker room is really quiet. It's really quiet because it's just your guys and the coaches in there. Because, you know, we love the fans and everything and all this stuff, but, like, your guys, when you get that far, like, as great as Isaiah Thomas was, as great as Shaq was, as great as Kevin was, like, you don't get to the finals every time. Like, you lose more than you win. You know, like, there's a lot more losses. You know, Isaiah, they won the championship twice, but you probably played 13 to 14 years, right?
Yes, 13.
So you lose a lot more. Like, Shaq played 20 years, and he was blessed to win the championship 4 times. So 16 times, you're down and depressed, and it sucks. And it's just really quiet, and it's painful.
And you haven't gotten over it?
No, because the thing that you don't get over is you're like, man, I saw Scotty coming down. Horace had me.
So you're
there.
still replaying that?
I have, and I've seen the game a couple of times. I'm like, man, I should have tried to split that double team, but because it was 2 plays in a row. Because we were up, obviously they hit the 3, so the 2 times down we did not score. And I was like, I've seen that play, and I was like, that's a bad basketball play, but I'd rather lose it myself. No, make a good basketball play.
Charles, how often did you fight yourself with that? I know dealing with him, but knowing that most times you could split that double team, but are you thinking, am I making the best play for the team, or do I let my ego take it because I know I can take both of these guys? What was your biggest struggle with that?
You have to trust your teammates, because I see guys all the time like, dude, you can't split a double team, especially Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen. They're 2 great
16 long arms. Yep.
Because the thing is, not only, see, the other thing is, you got them 2 guys box you in, and then you see Black Cat. That's what we used to call Michael. You see Black Cat like right there. He's like in the safety position. Like if you don't throw it perfect, he's gone with it. So I know I made the proper basketball play, but you're just like, man, because you always say, could I have done more? You always say that.
When we come back, last guy up, Kevin McHale, the good and the bad, after this.